It's good to know that you're still with us on Good Morning Nigeria today. And to set the tone for today's conversation, which is on skills acquisition for sustainable youth development, let's bring in Joseph Olsen, who has a background report.
Nigeria has an estimated population of over 200 million, with the World Bank reporting over 60% under the age of 25. If well utilized, the young, energetic and mobile productive force can propel the nation to sustainable economic development. The administration of President Bola Tinubu has pledged commitment to creating meaningful opportunities for young Nigerians to strive and add value to development of the country. The enactment of the Student Loan Act and plan to explore the digital space to generate 1 million new jobs in the digital economy are steps taken so far by the government to kickstart the process. The appointment of a 400-level economic student as member of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms by President Bola Tinubu recently is a demonstration of the administration's commitment to youth participation in government. Furthermore, the planned initiative to strengthen macro, small and medium-sized enterprises and the informal sector with 125 billion naira between July 2023 to March 2024 is another set goal towards youth empowerment. But to have a more efficient impact in youth development, experts are advocating adoption of green skills, which compasses knowledge, abilities, values, and attitudes needed to live in, develop, and support a sustainable and resource-efficient society. Skills in the areas such as renewable energy, waste management, water conservation, sustainable agriculture, and environmental protection are pinpointed as healthy opportunities. Over the years, the National Directorate of Employment, established in 1986, has had the mandate to link youth with jobs and help them with needed vocational skills to be entrepreneurs. On the other hand, the National Productivity Center assists with the productivity skills to enable growth and sustainable development. Both agencies and other related offices will have to play critical roles in aiding the youth develop self and add value to the nation's productivity on all fronts. On Good Morning Nigeria today, guests will share perspectives on skills for sustainable development.
All right, Joseph Otseng giving us the background report to set a tone for our conversation. And we have our guests right here in the studio. And let me begin the introductions. We have Chief Ubina Nwaka, who is the Director General, Committee of Youth on Mobilization and Sensitization, CYMS. Chief Nwaka, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Also in the studio here with us is Dr. Nero Oyekale, Executive Director, Commit Technology and Consult Limited, and he's a consultant to ILO on development of African youths for decent jobs. Dr. Oyekale, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Nigerians. Thank you very much.
And stay with us here in the studio is Brigadier General Mohammed Danjuma Yusuf, former Acting Director of Development, Department of Research and Development, Defense Headquarters. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning once again. I'm the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Youth and Public Safety Awareness Initiative too.
Oh, great.
It's an NGO.
And that's more reason why you're here this morning.
Thank you.
Great, sir. All right, we're going to add that to your title. And via Zoom from Lafia, Nasarawa State, we are expecting to have Ibrahim Adamu Abdullahi, former Speaker, Children's Parliament. He will be joining us in the course of today's program. All right, gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. Claire.
All right, let's begin by given perspectives to what we're, discussing. 2023 is International Youth Day, and the, global theme is green skills for sustainable, world. And I'd just like to begin with the consultant to ILO. What exactly do we mean by green skills?
Green skills are skills that actually required to be effective and relevant to course of actions, operations, production, living and advancement in the digital world. And when you talk of these skills, yes, they may seem to be common, but the approach to which Nigeria are actually acquiring these skills are lopsided, let me put it that way. There has always been good intentions. There has always been good policy, and the problem has always been doing it the right way. And when you talk of skills today, skill is universal. And nobody, no country will be able to survive, will be able to stem unemployment, this insecurity resulting from inability of the youth to be gainfully engaged without looking at what is operational, what is available globally, and bring that standard to dealing with the situation in Nigeria. Let me give an instance. During the background to this discussion, the presenter, the guy, raised a lot of issues that, sincerely speaking, if we want to go into it, the time may not be enough. But one particular one that strikes my mind most is that the provision of opportunities that this government has laid bare right from May 29, when Mr. President was sworn in. He said, I want to create jobs. I want to empower the youth. Right? But my question is, creating jobs for who? If the jobs that will be created will be jobs of yesteryears, yes, I don't have any fear in that. But for digital skills to be provided for Nigerians, sincerely speaking, with the state of things in this country, those jobs will actually go to foreigners.
Why is it youth specific?
Youth specific because, sincerely speaking, the future of Nigeria, is in the youth. And all the problems we are encountering today, from insurgencies to banditry to any kind of social menace you may think of, were coming from the youth. Okay. And you wouldn't blame them after spending about 14 to 17 years in school, and the school is not actually preparing them or has prepared them for the jobs of today. Okay. What is the, okay.
Okay, we'll pause it because you're going to talk more, as we make progress, right? And of course, you're talking about, employable skills. Skills, yeah. Because we churn out graduates every year, most of whom are not employable based on the fact that they were not prepared the school for entrepreneurship, skill acquisition and what have you. And that brings to mind the fact that, of course, we've lost technical education in this country for over 20 years now. We used to have GTC, government training colleges, where people are trained to have skills, plumbing, vulcanizing, woodworking, and what have you. Now, let's bring in Chief Obinna Nwaka, Director General of Committee of Youth on Mobilization and Sensitization. When we talk about green skills for Nigerian youth, for instance, it requires a good deal of sensitization and mobilization, which is the area, that you are championing for Nigerian youth. Now, let us into, understanding today's youth. Because there are certain things that we see happen, we will see youths do. And what calls for question is whether these youths are sensitized or mobilized. Give us a clue of what you do as the chairman of this committee on mobilization and sensitization, because it is key to even revealing to the youths what green skills are all about.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria, for having me in your studio. And I also want to utilize this wonderful medium to congratulate Nigerian youth on the occasion of the 2023 International Youth Day. As we observe it, just 2 or 3 days ago, I think when I was felicitating with Nigerian youth on this occasion, one thing that I urge them is while they are at home, as a result of unemployment, they to also utilize that medium to acquire a skill. Because one of the things that is affecting young people so far, they say they are not employable as a result of the years they have spent at home, is because they have not utilized that medium to acquire one skill. And at the end of the day, it makes them redundant. You can even imagine even this process of screening and all those things, you come to realize that there are some people, they feel that because they study in Harvard University, even if you studied at Harvard University, it is not an achievement compared to someone that studied University of Nigeria and Nsukka and have worked and have served and also engaged in one skill or the other. So that's why when I see all those things that happen within this period of time, I encourage young people to get a skill. Now, when it comes to the issue of mobilization and sensitization, as an organization, we will continue to do our best. Because if you look at the population density here in Nigeria and the rate of unemployment, is really focusing on the young people. But they also look at the policies and the program that Mr. President have for Nigerian youths. If well implemented, is going to have go a long way to ensure that we have higher level of reduction of unemployment.
What of the policies of previous administrations for youth? Because there's no government since 1999 that didn't have a Ministry of Youth Development.
Yes.
So what about the policies of those the previous governments? How did they impact on Nigerian youth? And they want to talk about mobilization and sensitization. What is the strategy? Are you reaching out to Nigerian youths?
Now, yes, we are reaching out, but let me tell you, when it comes to the policy, coming up with policy is not the challenge, but implementation of the policy is the key factor. Then when it comes to the areas of implementation, do you have the right people who have that expertise, that knowledge, the passion to assist in the implementation of this policy? That is the key fundamental. If you look at one of the policies or the avenue where Mr. President analyzed to reduce unemployment in Nigeria, especially our youth corpus, reformation of NYSC. What is the reformation of NYSC? Is direct engagement when it comes to entrepreneurship and empowerment. If you're a copper, for instance, you can be attached to an industrial making machine firm, an AC production firm or servicing firm. So from that, after learning, the firm will automatically engage you after your 1 year entrepreneurship or NYSC service with them. These are the things that we've not been having over the time. I served in Nasarawa State. The skills that I was even forced to go and learn baking and all those things because it wasn't my passion. It wasn't my passion. They would just come up with a different kind of skills because they have collected money those days. They have consultants that really want to come and impact knowledge in the NYSC camp. But did they ask the corpus, which skills do you have passion in engaging into? So these are the skills that Mr. President is talking about here. It's not just soap making, bead making, and all those AKX skills that we used to do during our days. They are talking about a re-engagement. If you want to embark on AC production, servicing, welder, and all those things, they will engage you into a qualified firm. A firm whereby they will give you a consecutive 1 year training. Then after the 1 year training, they have no other option than to employ you. And there is an avenue and there is opportunity whereby the federal government will also intervene to ensure that those same firms, they are being empowered. Is it resources? Is it facilities? There are so many areas that the federal government are also going to intervene to make sure that those firms are well ready to ensure that they assist and to employ young people who have been attached to them through the NYSC scheme.
Thank you. You've just talked about potentials and opportunities, for youths to express their skills. But let's also remember that the context of our conversation is green skills. And how, of course, we can apply it to sustainable development, in Nigeria. And I just want Brigadier General Danjuma Yusuf to give us an understanding again if there is actually a green skill gap. That's one. And two, from the data, available data, we understand that Nigerian youth, has demographic advantage in all aspects. Why is it that the opportunities that Kieran talked about, the Nigerian youth have yet to take advantage of those opportunities, to develop their skills?
Yes, good morning viewers once again. I'm here for this important discussion on youth skill acquisition. Really, the youth needs to learn how to be self-employed so that they can contribute to the society. The youth are potential, they are potent factor and catalyst for self and national development. But unfortunately, what is militating against them is this drug abuse. I will give some statistics now. According to UNODC, that's United Nations Office on Drug and Crimes. By Nigerian Population Commission, the population of Nigeria has 60% of Nigerian population are under 25. That's 60% of over 200 million are under 25 years. And unfortunately, again, the NTA latest statistics, estimate that about 40% of these youths are drug abusers. So this is a very, very, a great obstacle that Nigeria has to really come across, for our youth to come across before they can learn skill, before they can be useful to themselves and Nigeria. That's why we have all this insecurity here and there, cultism in tertiary institutions, and rape and all this type of murdered by spouses, killing themselves. Because of what? Because of drug abuse. So in the world over, we have about 296 million people that use drugs, according to UNODC's reports. Over 29 million of these, suffer from drug abuse. But in Nigeria, about 40 million, who use drug. About 3 million of them, suffer drug abuse. So this is our problem.
But are there really are there opportunities there for Nigerian youth to even tap? That's one. And again, why do we have demand for green skills? These are my questions. Why do we have demand for green skills? And are there opportunities for Nigerian youths, to fit in?
Yes, there are a lot of opportunities for Nigerian youth to fit in. But that behold that it's not only government. We should not leave government, just to put everything at the hand of the government. Selfless, commitment by individuals, by corporate organizations, will help a lot of, do a lot of help in this instance. But when we say everything, Nigeria seems to be saying government. No. Like now, I have an NGO that is, sponsored by, by ourselves. Me and a lot of people that are, they think the same way. We set up these NGOs in 2018, and we're going to, sensitizing youths in the tertiary institutions and secondary schools, and even coming to, media houses. Like 2 years ago, I was here. We were here to talk about sensitization on, abstaining from drug abuse.
All right, sir. I know you are very keen on this drug abuse because we've done some research and some work on drug abuse in this country, which is very important. We know that some youths are into some vices, especially drug abuse. But we are concerned this morning with how to get our youths equipped for sustainability in terms of development, individual career development, and what have you. And now that we are talking about green skills, I have to look it up to say, look, what are really the green skills? You know, because the green skills, because you are going to come in here for further explanation to say critical systems and nature-centric thinking, scientific understanding, nature connectivity, practical and technical hard skills, long-term thinking, dynamic operations, and crisis management. You see, when we talk about green skills, and for me, it's even from what I've read now, for advanced society, in terms of what I've read out now, advanced society, but in our own, circumstance, we should be looking at employable skills, skills that can engage the youth to even live his life without thinking of white-collar jobs. Our own nature of green thinking, because so the global picture of the thing is what we are dealing with. But in our own domestic environment, you need to also look at what is green skills for us. How would our youth be engaged skillfully, gainfully as well? I had an opportunity to actually visit some agricultural settings, startups, by youth, aquaculture, and cultivation of yams and other things that young people have taken over. So what I'm going to ask you is this. Several governments have come and gone with policies on youth development. Yet, we are talking about youth unemployment. We are talking about youth not being employable based on the kind of education that they acquire at the universities. All right. And sociology student, for instance, the of sociology, he also doesn't work in Nigeria. They don't have a good social setting where such persons can work and what have you. So now, what is lacking in terms of translating government policies and programs of the youth to have positive impact on the youth? What is this missing link?
Thank you very much. I want to start this way. An idle hand is the devil's workshop. Sincerely speaking, for some of our youth to have taken to drugs, we should be traced back the cause to ourselves individually. If we have actually brought them up in the way that they will be relevant, they will see a brighter future. Perhaps they may not take to drugs and other social vices we are talking about today. Yes, let us know that the entire world is looking at Nigeria, and I'm happy that Nigeria is going on the right direction. I can confirm that. But what has been happening, this is 2023. How many years into the new millennium? We are already 22 years backward. That is the fact. Come of it, global skill shortage is over 54% as we speak. What does that mean? Like in countries like Japan, out of every 100 vacancies, 88 must come from outside Japan. 88. Japan will only be able to place 12. In America, over 69% skill shortage, meaning that over 69 people out of 100 must come from outside. Go to Britain, the same story. And there's nowhere again that this country will want to turn to, rather than to turn to Africa. And when you talk of Africa, you talk of Nigeria. But what is the problem? I tell people, an average Nigerian youth is not supposed to be wandering on the streets if we have actually taken care of them. So what are the skills that we need now? One, digital literacy. Digital literacy is the criterion for employment in 160 countries. But as at this moment, I stand to be corrected. No institution of higher learning is graduating anybody into the labor market with the minimum requirement for employment. Neither of recent came up with the first of its kind in Africa. We now have a national digital literacy framework. Before now, our story is just like Alice in the Wonderland. We're just roaming about. When you talk of skill development, we're not doing it. That is the fact. When you don't train your people to certification, there's no proof of skill attainment. That is the greatest problem facing us. So now, apart from digital literacy, one, then everybody needs the communication skills. Communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking to be able to cope with this world. And whether you are going to work for somebody or you are working for yourself, you need to be entrepreneurial and enterprising. Then the program, the document, this framework that NIDA just designed, sincerely speaking, will lead Nigerians to the entry point of his or her own career path. Look at it. This is NTA, right? an average person, apart from the digital literacy, the communication skills, the entrepreneurship and small business, needs to be on Adobe, for instance, the Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere Pro, Flash, Dreamweaver, and so on and so forth. For an engineer, you go into the entry level, into the likes of Autodesk, the AutoCAD, Illustrator, 3D Max Maya. What of our teachers? How many of our teachers can actually teach with technology? With this framework, our teachers will be able to be led into the 8 skills they need. 1, digital literacy, 21st century learning design, make code, Minecraft, OneNote, Office of History, and Windows. All these must be attained at certification level. Without certification, there's no proof of skill attainment. What will Nigerians be showing to the rest of the world? If you are asked now, okay, America needs 1 million, whatever, skillful hands. What skills from the way we've been doing about this capacity development?
Thank you. And I read, somewhere that despite the various opportunities given to Nigerian youth in the petroleum, engineering sector, very few are taking up that challenge, so we would also like to find out, but before that, let me welcome Ibrahim Adamu Abdullahi. He's joining us via Zoom from Lafia in Nasarawa State, and he's former Speaker, Children's Parliament. Honorable Speaker, let me welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning. And apologies, I had to join via Zoom. I'm all the way in Latvia.
We hear that Nigerian youth specifically, I mean, doing very well in terms of technology, utilization all over the world. And indeed, we read about their exploits, in diverse areas of human endeavor. And yet, we'll talk about skills gap, especially in the green skills area. What are your thoughts about this?
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, Nigerian youth have over the years shown industry, innovation, and an unprecedented level of zeal and technical know-how, especially in the creative space, in the technology industry. But when we talk about the current skill gap, I think we need a critical mass. It is not enough that we have a few numbers or a few hundreds of youths with these skills. We are a population of over 200 million people. So when we talk about a fundamental issue such as skills development, talent acquisition, we are referring the need to have a critical mass of young people, of youth, honing those skills. I've listened to a few of the guests in the studio talking about the need for skill acquisition and the very high skills gap that exists. I think that we must be able to look at the need for skills acquisition from a very, very deliberate point of view. One, we need to ask ourselves a question whether our educational system is addressing the talent issue, the skill issue for the 21st century. So we have a situation where our schools are not training young people to have the right skills. All of the skills that you see most young people are honing from extracurricular activities. And we cannot treat skills acquisition in silos with our education system. It must be a fundamental part of our education, our school system, from our primary schools to our secondary schools to tertiary institutions. We have a situation where you studying engineering and you just have not gone to any technical workshop. And we see these every day and all the time. I'm speaking from two perspectives. One, as a young person that has been in this country, that has gone to school in this country, and has learned skills in this country, and has also had the privilege of studying outside of this country. I'm also speaking from a point of view of an employer of labor myself. I have run a law firm, a law practice in the private sector, and currently I'm a chief executive of a public institution, the Nasarawa Investment and Development Agency. There's just not enough skills. Our young people are not adequately trained for even the jobs that we have at hand. And these are even just very basic skills. So we need to rethink, we need to reset our educational system. There is no way that we will allow just agencies, for instance, like the NITDA and the likes, to be the ones responsible for training and retraining and equipping Nigerian youth for the skills needed for today's workforce. We've got to go back to our schools. Skills acquisition and skills development are also culturally linked. Even within our family settings, community settings, we need to have a very frank conversation about the things that we value, the skills that are needed to operate in our society. Only then will we close this very wide gap between the classroom and the workplace. It's just not sustainable for us to have a system.
Adama Abdullahi, yes, we thank you for your opening remarks. I'm going to remain with you. Because you have this history, of speaking for younger generation of Nigerians at your own time. So I believe you have a wide experience, when it comes to the young people growing up, being in school, learning, following their careers, learning skills, and what have you. And now that you are CEO of an investment agency, I want to believe, quite frankly, that you're also doing something in terms of ensuring that the Nasarawa youth will also acquire some skills. Like Doctor here said, that Canada, Japan, and other countries are looking for skills as well. I know that Canada, for instance, are looking for carpenters. You cannot believe that carpenters, POP designers. That's also looking for plumbers and vulcanizers, and across Europe. But in Nigerian context, we, like you said, we have a system of education that does not allow for us to churn out graduates that are employable in terms of what they can do with their hands or what they can learn to do without seeking white-collar jobs. So what I'm going to ask you now has to do with the green skills we are talking about today. There are 4 categories, if I am right, which has to do with cognitive competencies, technological and intrapersonal competencies, as well as intrapersonal competencies. Would you think that Nigerian youth, not all, some Nigerian youths, acquire these kind of competencies in terms of their exposure, either in school or after you service, what have you?
Not really. I think when you say the Nigerian youth, I think you're looking at a very high number of Nigerian youth. Whilst there exist Nigerian youth who possess these skills, the greater population of Nigerian youth don't have these skills. And it's also a function of even Nigeria itself, how we've responded to these sustainability issues. These are emerging skills that perhaps 20 years ago, 30 years ago, were not being thought about. There is a global energy transition movement. There is a global emphasis on sustainability and environmental issues. And with these movements, calls for, or these movements also bring a set of opportunity for new skills to be developed. So as we move as a country towards towards our energy transition plan, achieving environmental sustainability, and so on, and embedding them into our own plans, our own development agenda, it is important that our school system also responds to these global issues and ensure that we're preparing young people to have these skills. So, frankly speaking, I do not think that the generality of Nigerian youth are even aware of these skills that global developments have brought about. So we need to go back to the classroom. We need to go back to the drawing board, and as we as policymakers think through what our energy transition plan, our environmental sustainability framework will be, we also need to think about how do we churn out the skills from our school systems. You talk about Japan and other countries that are very deliberate with skills acquisition. It is important to also acknowledge that some state governments, that's subnational in Nigeria, have made quite modest efforts to build skills acquisition centers and ensure that these skills acquisition centers are accessible by young people from different backgrounds. In Nasarawa State, for instance, the governor has been very deliberate on skills acquisition. The governor recently established a skills acquisition center with very modern facilities here in Lafia, and by extension, other parts of the state will benefit from this. The state university also has recently established a faculty of engineering that is supposed to be very well equipped with modern technology, just so that young people who go through these institutions actually own the skills that are needed in the job market, that are needed in today's economy.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, former Speaker, Children's Parliament, Ibrahim Adamu Abdullahi. We'll return to you in a short while. Let's come back to the studio. Chief Obinna Nwaka, and I'm just going to ask the latest data from NBS, indicates that, of course, Nigeria is making, progress in terms of internet, penetration in Nigeria, about 50%, if not more than that. And Nigerian youths are one of the most active on the internet. I don't know. I mean, Dr. Oyekale is nodding his head, are the most active. So I want to ask you, are there specific areas, specific fields, where these green skills are needed and are lacking now?
Okay, yes, thank you. The green skills is very essential in our modern world today. And if you look at these skills, what it also tends to address the issue of climate change. Even now that we are facing fuel hike and all those things, if we have been involving ourselves, engaging the young people to be part of this global advantage, electric vehicle, solar, and all those things, I don't think we'll be talking about fuel subsidy and all those things. It will automatically address those challenges. Now, when it talks about the climate change and environment, you can even recall that even this period of time, we have peace in our environment. The environment is not even conducive. The noise have reduced because of generator sound carbon monoxide and all those things. So these skills tend to address all these issues. If you are using solar in your house, will you be having an issue of inhaling carbon monoxide as a result of powering of your generator? No. If you're using an electric vehicle, will you have all these challenges of queuing in the filling station and all those things? So these are the issues that these green skills come to address. But one thing about a United Nations through the Department of Economic and Social Affairs is they take advantage of all these things. And when they elect a team that is going to be a global one, some other nations, they key into it, they take advantage of it and look at areas whereby they can quickly implement some of this resolution or policies that may come out from it. Last year, we discussed about a particular team. What is Africans doing about it or Nigerians doing about it? Now we have talked about a modern team that other nations of the world that have utilized it to create a lot of employment. Now, if you look at the prosperity or the estimation of this team charted at creating like 100 million jobs in the next years, let's say 2030, that this team, if properly utilized, is going to create over 100 million jobs. Now, look at 100 million jobs. How are they going to create it? Now, the governments also have a role to play, investing in our technical institutions. How many technical institutions do we have in Nigeria? Every time the NUC, they are approving university of this, what can those universities impact in the life of young people? And you look at,
but we must be very strategic.
Yeah.
If we are to achieve sustainable development, we must be very strategic in the application of these green skills when we do have them. Not just like, following the bandwagon because developed countries are doing this and doing this. We must have, areas that we want to apply these skills for sustainable development in line with government programs, projects, and objectives. I don't know if you are
right. No, it is possible. When they talk about all these skills, it's not possible if you want to achieve a result. You cannot go into all these programs. You look at one or two that is viable, that is going to contribute to the nation building as well, and also impact to the life of young people. That is very easy for them. No, there's some certain skill that require steps before they can actually understand it properly. And these skills we are talking about requires a lot of technology, requires a basic conducive environment, requires technocrats, experienced people that also come and engage the young. We have a lot of young people in this country that are willing to take advantage of all these skills if being brought close to them. But those people that can impact knowledge into them will become the challenge. Now the environment, that is why the young people have taken over the social media, internet space, because they don't have much that they are doing. The only thing that keeps them busy is internet. Some of them belong to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any network subscriber a provider that comes into Nigeria. Nigerians key into it because these are the things that makes them happy. If possible, they are also kicking that. If they can be voting through social media to elect our leaders, Nigerian youths are willing to support that process. So you don't blame them. And if we don't encourage them to be internet friendly, there will be a lot of crime. There will be a lot of social vices in our society. And some of them are also taking advantage of the internet basis, creating more opportunities for themselves, advertising their products, services, and all those things. So it has advantage and also have disadvantage.
Okay, well said. I want to believe that the Nigerian youths are not all that write-off in terms of skills. There are persons who have acquired skills, who are Nigerians. In fact, some will shock you if you carry out investigation, especially within the science and technology circle. If you know some institutes that engage in project development, research and development, you will find out that we have hot brains in this country. Younger generation of Nigerians who are doing things but not recognized. Now, you talked about technical education. It's been lost over the years, you know, and that means that we are lacking skills. Well, we are talking about green skills. We are going so far away. Because we're here, we're lacking carpenters, we're lacking tilers, because some of us had experienced building, and we engage people from Niger, Benin Republic, you know, they are known to be good in tiling, some are in POP, and these are not Nigerians. These are basic skills that we need to have, because without these skills, you can't even live in your house, because you have to have a plumber, for instance, you know, to maintain your water system in the house and water. So we are even lacking in those ones. And we're talking about green skills, which is an advanced kind of skill. Advanced kind of skill that we're talking about, which you can find in places like South Korea, you know, or Japan. You know, these are people who embraced 5G since 2014. Yes. We're talking about 5G. It was yesterday, but 5G was exposed in 2014 at the University of Hebrew University in Jerusalem. All right, where they showed what 5G is going to be in 2014. So that is where you can talk about green skills. But for us, let's get the basic skills. Sustainable, that is the word. Sustainable skills that can get us living. For those of them who are inclined, you know, towards using internet, there are good things you could do with the internet. The other guys go negative, but there are good things you could do with the internet. Now, let me bring in Brigadier General Danjuma Yusuf once more. Your area has always been on what the vices, especially drug abuse, you know, on the part of the youths. But there are very good ones. And of course, from the data you gave, it shows that the minority of youths are involved in this drug abuse, not majority of it. Now, how do we now capture this majority that would like to, you know, engage in skills that are sustainable? If you're in government, or if you are, you know, speaking for NYAC, for instance, are there going to be innovations you will suggest as to see how we can engage our youths skillfully from youth service level, you know, having left university?
Yes, there are very many areas we can really get these youths, get involved and engaged. But the militating factor is corruption. Why there is no sustainability of the development course. Now, you know, like in our olden days, I mean, when we are growing up, by then, it depends on what you're listening, you know, like I did not know anybody from a village, and I passed to a secondary school in Zaria. And I didn't have to meet anybody to be admitted into that place. But is it so now? No. You have to know somebody before you can be what you want to be. So the sustainability of this our you know, whatever policy you are listening now is being stalled because of corruption, because of the system. As like before, we have a 5 years secondary school. I mean secondary school something 1 to 5, from 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now later they change it to 3. I mean 6 in primary school, 3, and then university maybe 4 or 3 or 4 or whatever. Why? Because of this, you know, to acquire skill acquisition. But maybe if at Form 3 you cannot go further because of your intellect is not capable, you'll be able to know, to have something that you can come and live on. But is it so? Like a lot of people who could not even go further, now they are useless. And what comes to them? They just use this drug because they just want something that can take their mind off, you know, lack of employment, and you know, they become problem for themselves and the society. And really, this, you know, we have to start from family, government, and everybody have to be involved in this, you know, school acquisition things. You know, like now, also Nigerian, as we rightly said now, we cannot just go to advanced countries and copy them. When we cannot, on our own, we are still lacking basic things, you know, to be done in Nigeria here. So that's what I feel, that, you know, we have the potentials. Our youth are very, very clever, are very, very, you know, agile, and but unfortunately there is no you know, environment that, you know, that can encourage them.
Something he just said, Claire, you know, that has to do with, you know, you talked about school. Look, those days I attended my first secondary school, the Colliery Comprehensive Secondary School. The comprehensive component of that school then was that we have woodwork, we have metal work, we have plumbing. So if at class 3 you could not have, well, what the green skill called the cognitive competence. You can now divert into woodwork, which is carpentry. You can divert into metal work, which is welding and what have you. At secondary school level. But at secondary school level these days, we don't have such arrangement.
Stay with Brigadier General Usman. Yes, sorry, Danjuma Yusuf. Because the former speaker, from Lafia, gave us a nexus between skills gap and family values. By implication, he means probably that a gap exists in the kind of orientation that our youths get, from the family. So, what can parents do, to bridge this gap? What can parents and governments do to bridge this, values, or to bridge this skills gap and moral values?
I think parents and the government and the system entirely they have a lot of ways of bridging this gap. One, from the family, like you see a lot of parents encouraging their children to cheat in exams, or hiring somebody to go and write an exam for their children, or somebody who claimed that his course was also a clever student in the first place, who recently claimed and manipulated and went to do 419 to say she has scored so high, so marks, so that he can receive a prize or whatever. Then the parents are even supporting him or her. So that's where the parents come in. Like when we are growing up, as Mr. Kerian said, your parents will tell you, if you did something wrong, they will tell you that no, this is wrong. And then the government too, will not even look at who you are before you benefit from the policy. As I told you now about my education and this, it is if you are good, you are good. So I think the parents and the system and the government, they have a lot of things to do to bring back the glory of Nigeria. Like now, public schools are nothing to write home about. Instead, the government, and our politicians send their children to schools abroad and this. And when they unfortunately, like the drug I'm saying now, when they go abroad, they become drug addicts.
We will take a short break because again, I know you are alluding to the story of the young girl who falsified her her jam results, and now we know that when the truth came out, social media was agog. People were even against some of the measures that jam was about to take, and some are asking for. So that kind of system where reward, is not given for good work, and punishment is not served, as a form of deterrent. How does that encourage skills acquisition? How does that encourage the youth, to acquire skills? But we will come back and you will respond to this. We'll just take a short break. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we're looking at green skills for sustainable development and how we can develop Nigerian youths can also acquire some of these developing skills.
All right, you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on NTA Network Service. So our conversation is centered on youth development. And in Nigerian context, we are concerned about our youths having skills, sustainable skills, employable skills, the skills that can assist a youth develop into manhood and run his family. That is what it's all about. Gentlemen, we now know that the major vice now among Nigerian youth is Yahoo, which of course we will now know to have Yahoo Plus, which is an additional or a kind of a reloading of the Yahoo business. And this is as a matter of getting rich quick syndrome that we have experienced in this country, and politicians are not helping matters in this direction because the youth are emulating. Growing up, you emulate things. If something that you want to be. In some cases, they are negative. But again, it is pervasive, because in every part of this country, you keep battling the youth who are engaged in, in fraud of all kinds. And when you ask them, they say, look, so person has done that and got away with it. Meanwhile, the same person who did such fraud and got away with it is even a governor or a member of House of Assembly or National Assembly, as the case may be. So what is it that you are asking me to do? I am trying to live in a society that I met, and therefore I have to live on. Now, in that circumstance, what should government do? You know, when we talk about planning for the youth, when we have Ministry of Youth Development, sometimes I wonder what they engage in. Are there programs and activities tailored towards engaging the youths meaningfully by such ministries that have existed in this country? Now, I'm not sure what we have now, but I know we had Ministry of Youth and sports development. Because apart from sports, where youths exhibit individual skills, those who want to be serious about sports, in terms of organized skill acquisition program, where are the workshops? Where are the infrastructures set for this kind of acquisition in terms of government taking it holistically upon itself to say, look, we're going to have training centers across Nigeria. In every state, we'll have one huge plant house where you can do carpentry, where you can do other woodworks, where you can do welding, vulcanizing, and what have you. Is it a possibility?
Yes. And so much has been done in that direction. I can confirm that.
Why are we not feeling the impact?
Yes.
Why the Nigerian is not feeling the impact of it?
You have a very big role to play. I've just realized this morning that we need a lot of advocacy. Sincerely speaking, government, current and the past, have been losing their sleeves. And I can tell you that on January 17 this year, TED Fund actually inaugurated a committee on digital literacy, productivity, and emerging skills. What is the essence of this? They are to see to the establishment of a center of excellence for development of digital literacy, productivity, and emerging skills. And this will cut across all the tertiary institutions in Nigeria. And one of the mandate is to ensure that at graduation, every graduate of any tertiary institution in Nigeria is adequately equipped with maximum of 5 skills, certified skills that cut across all we are talking about. You're talking about cognitive competence, you're talking of communication, collaboration skills, critical thinking, and going into, other soft skill, entrepreneurship, recognition of opportunity, very, very important. Starting a business, running a business, and, reading your books in the language that today's people will actually understand. That is one. Then, about 2 weeks ago, NIDA actually launched another very good project, the National Digital Literacy Framework. That is the first of its kind in Africa. And there are specific objectives and strategic initiatives that which when implemented, sincerely speaking, will take Nigeria to El Dorado. But what I've come to realize is this: advocacy. There's nothing in, when you call a skills center, what is a skills center? Yeah, right? The skill center of yesteryears is no longer the skill center of today. If you have a skill center without a certification pathway, it's just an ordinary building that is bound to. It's just an ordinary building without a certification platform. Skills must be taken to certification now.
Excuse me, sir. When you say certification, yes, does it mean that after the acquisition of the skill, you get a certificate?
Okay, thank you very much. Not that.
Is that help? Please clarify.
Okay, let me clarify.
Understand.
You see, you know what? Skill is now universal. You've been complaining about you said Canada needs carpenters, they need plumbers, but not plumbers or carpenters without proof of skill attainment that is globally recognized. That is it. You see,
how do you get that?
I'm coming to that. You see, we have one, a CATC, Certificate Authorized Testing Center, for instance. This platform is to certify everybody on the surface of the earth, so that you have this certificate or these skills certified by them. We tell anybody in the world that your skill is equivalent to any skill obtained or attained any other place in the world.
How do they put you to test? to be able to determine that at least when a Nigerian young girl,
you write certification exams. For instance, let me give you an instance now.
All of those who can't write exams, there are people who can't write exams, but who have skills.
Thank you very much. You see, we're talking of skills, sustainable skills, right? What do you look at for? One, for anybody to be trained today, that person must be able to read and write, right? Sincerely yours, must be able to read and write. You see, we cannot take care of everybody, and that is why we have this sieve, something called sieve, right? That when you train some people here, you engage them to enable them to know whether they will be able to cope with the next line of engagement or training. So when you talk of certification, certification is the proof of skill attainment that is globally recognized.
Sir, please, I'm not putting you on the spot, but see, this is have to be explained out. Because in Indonesia, I saw welders who are welding aircrafts. I interviewed them. They never went to school. They don't write. But sorry, sir. And one of them said that he doesn't just do welding for aircraft, that he does under the sea welding.
Yes.
So I don't know. I want you to understand that many Nigerians are illiterate, to be honest with you, and perhaps majority, and they have skills.
Let me address
they cannot write.
Let me address
they
that.
cannot read.
Let me address that. No, let me address that. Let me address that. You see, we have this national skill qualification framework. That is one. That is to certified artisans. But when we are talking of people that have gone to school, actually, right? Even the artisan, at a point in time, they have to come to a level where they have to take to this universal skill attainment, right? You talk of Canada. Canada will not import anybody from Nigeria without a proof of skill that this person can do this. And I do think that I said skill is universal. For instance, now when you talk of AutoCAD, AutoCAD is global. There is one certification for it. If you have it here, you have the same competence with any other person on the surface of it. When you talk of IC3 digital literacy, for instance, which is the criterion for employment in 160 countries, it is universal. It is this universality that we need to work with, and that is what an organization like NITDA has actually gone into with this their national digital literacy framework.
Dr. Ekale, you just talked about NITDA, and we will come to that because we are running out of time, really. But I want to just bear that in mind. We want to look at what agencies like NITDA are also doing, to create the opportunities for skills development, youth skills development. But let me bring in the former speaker, Ibrahim Adamu Abdullahi, and I like the point where you linked skills acquisition to family values. I don't know if Ibrahim Adamu is still with us, to skills value, and indeed many people will agree with you that the first step to bridging the skills gap actually starts from the home. A home where if a child gets the wrong orientation or false orientation from the home, it is bound to reflect in other aspects of his life, whether you give him no matter the opportunities you present to that particular child, he already had the wrong orientation from the home, and that will it will go through in the different aspects of his life. So also is a system where one is not punished for misdemeanor or any criminal action. He or she gets away with it. That system is also flawed. So how do we begin to address this kind of system such that the youths understand that, look, there is dignity in hard work, there's dignity in labor, and that we begin to explore the possibilities that are open there for us to acquire these skills?
Thank you very much. I mean, when we say the family is very important, you have to also look at what is the makeup of the family. It's the parents and the children themselves. And we all go out, we all leave our homes. Our parents have jobs. They're either in their private jobs or in public service, or even in the education sector. So even the people who administer our schools, our policy makers, all exist within a family setting. So once, as a society, we have a consensus and agree that these skills are important, and we must teach, we must catch them young. We must teach our children at home. We must reorient our immediate communities on the need to make sure that we advance these skills in our children. And then when we go back to our workplace, we ensure that as policymakers, for instance, we push for policies that encourage and enable us as a society to develop the skills of young people. And when we go to schools as teachers, we ensure that we actually teach those skills, or we encourage the teaching of those skills. So you see, it's culture making is not to parents alone, but I mean, parents also have jobs. They're also individuals. So it's a no-brainer. And I think that once there is a consensus by all of us as a society, so both in terms of at home with children, where we parents are also members of Parent Teachers Association, and that's usually a very influential making of any school. We can begin to implement. So the issue is that we think about we think about solutions to our problems, but we don't push for those solutions to be implemented. So we need to move from mere talking to action, starting from the family.
Ibrahim, just the last one to you from me. I'm also wondering how we can harness, the social media friendly youths, who utilize the cyberspace, for other things other than skills development. How do we harness these talents?
So there are many ways. I see a lot of creative young people with energy on the internet. So you just have to realize the power of the internet. It's just such a powerful tool, and young people have access to it. So what do we do? What do we do with the energy of these young people? We need to ensure that we create more opportunities for them, create friendly policies and regulations so as not to stifle their use and access to the internet, and also go deep into national reorientation so that young people can begin to channel the skills, the zeal, the interest they have on the internet for national development. So it is really possible. It's just for one government to enable the use of the internet by young people, and not to try and stifle this use. We've seen in the past.
Ibrahim Adamu Abdullahi. Yes, you are making a point there, but time is no longer on our side. I thought I was going to have time to ask you what you are doing at the Nasarawa State Investment Agency, whether what you're doing there has the components, involving youth development. But that will be a talk for another day. We'd like to appreciate you also for waking up with us. We're coming back to the studio now for us to round off. All right, let me bring you in here once again, Doctor. I was privileged to know that some 60 engineers have been trained in China to manufacture electric transformers. And the majority of those 60 engineers are youths who are already employed. Now they have skills. And we don't have the plant. Of course, you know what I mean by the infrastructure. But these youths can manufacture electric transformer from scratch to finish. But they don't have the infrastructure to do that. Now, how would you be talking to government if you have the opportunity to do that, as to what can be done to provide the necessary infrastructure to accommodate the younger generation of Nigerians who are inclined towards having skills, not just a certificate?
Thank you very much. Yes, I just sounded it that the government is taking the right steps, not only to cater for the needs of these 60 engineers, but for by 2030 we should be talking of about 100 million Nigerians that must have been adequately equipped to relevant skills that will enable them to scale above the poverty line. Remember that. So with the NIDA project, this National Digital Literacy Framework, all I want to appeal to Nigerians is to ensure they embrace it.
Thank you. Obina, what do you think? What can be done in the immediate?
The immediate.
Yes.
In regards of the question.
Yes. Skills gap. This, skills acquisition, the green skills. What should government and other interest, bodies do?
That is to provide the necessary environment for young people who are interested to key into that those opportunities. 2, to bring in those professionals that can train and put our young people into the right direction.
Should there be innovation in NYSC?
Yes, and that is why Mr. President, in line with his policy to empower the young people, he said there will be NYSC reformation. The reformation of NYSC is to create innovation centers in all the orientation camps, whereby the entrepreneur, the organized private sectors who are focusing on skills in areas of discharging of their labor employment, they can come and pick some young people who are serving to give them opportunity to serve as a direct employment.
Excellent point. I'm sorry, we just have to end. Excellent point you made there. Very excellent. Thank you. Chief Obina Nwaka, Director General, Committee of Youth on Mobilization and Sensitization, CYMS. Thank you very much. I thought that was a very brilliant point on the issue of the NYSC. Dr. Niro Oyekale, Executive Director, Commit Technology and Consult Limited, consultant to ILO on development of African youths for distant jobs. Thank you very much, sir. And Brigadier General Mohammed Danjuma Yusuf, former Acting Director of Development, Department of Research and Development, Defense Headquarters, and is also Chairman and Chief Executive, Youth and Public Safety Awareness Initiative. We also thank Ibrahim Adamo Abdullahi, who is former Speaker, Children's Parliament. We can't exhaust this topic on skills acquisition for Nigerian youths. It's very broad, and we'll keep, of course, conversations open on this discussion. Let's take a look at sports.
Has disclosed that women's 100 meters hurdles world champion and record holder Toby Amusan has not yet been cleared to compete at this year's World Championships, which begins this weekend in Budapest, Hungary. This is in the wake of several reports making the rounds that the Nigerian has been given the green light to compete and defend her title at the championships. Amusan was provisionally suspended last month by the AIU for missing 3 whereabouts tests, with a decision expected to be made before the start of the championships. The Athletics Federation of Nigeria said it's awaiting the AIU's verdict on the hurdler.
Well, and that's our show for today. We thank you for watching, and we hope you're going to return again tomorrow when we come back with a fresh edition of your Good Morning show. Good Morning, Nigeria. I am Kurian Umar. I'll see you again tomorrow.
And I'm Claire Adelabo Abdurrasaq. Don't forget to watch a repeat broadcast of this program later today at 5 minutes past 5. And we'll be here tomorrow. Bye-bye.